how do we shift from that harsh inner voice? How do we shift from like condemning ourselves to becoming more self-compassionate?
Yeah, well, so luckily we have most of us have a really good template for compassion, and that's how we treat our close friends. Friendships even better than family because family, like because they're blood relations, you can kind of get away with maybe not being so compassionate. Or also, it's easier to be compassionate to people where we aren't personally threatened. Like if your child or your spouse loses their job, you might feel threatened and you might go into like freak out mode and not act at your best. Whereas if your friend loses his or her job, you're going to be less personally threatened. So you're more able to really draw on those resources of kindness and warmth and support. So most of us have some template of what to say, how to say it. So a very easy thing to do is to ask yourself, would I say this, what I'm saying to myself in this tone of voice to someone I really cared about? Do I think that would help? Usually the answer is no. What would I say? Especially if maybe, sometimes you don't say everything you think, but let's say my friend asked me, please, the honest truth, what do you really think? You hopefully say it with kindness in a constructive manner, even if there was some change that was needed. And that kind of gives you a template for how to relate to yourself. Again, it's not rocket science. We already know how to do it, most of us. It's just we aren't experienced in doing it with ourselves. We have to make this U-turn.
And it probably feels extraordinarily awkward at first if we're
It does
used to
feel
being
awkward
hard
at
on
first.
ourselves.
It does. Isn't it ironic that it feels more comfortable to call ourselves mean, nasty names? But, so it feels a little awkward. You just kind of accept that. Okay. After a while, it stops feeling less awkward. It starts feeling normal. And by
Mhm.
the way, it's not like positive thinking. You aren't saying, oh, everything's wonderful, you're wonderful, because maybe that's not the case. Maybe things are horrible. Maybe you did something that was really mean and you need to apologize. But just because you did something mean doesn't mean that you're mean. Just because you did
Mhm.
something horrible doesn't mean that you're horrible, right?
Mhm.
So it kind of can see very clearly actions and behaviors that are helpful or harmful. And it gives you the safety to own up to when you've done something harmful. Because again, just because I've done something harmful doesn't mean that I am somehow bad. I'm just a human being doing the best I can moment to moment, trying to learn from my failures, going through life with hopefully some kindness and support from myself and others.
Yeah, we
So
are worthy, we're each worthy of our own support and affection for ourselves just as much as anybody else's.
exactly. We know when a baby's born, we don't say, okay, once you graduate college, then you'll be worthy of some kindness and compassion, right? It's intrinsic. It's
Mhm.
intrinsic to all humans. So, and ironically, often we um, give a lot of other people compassion, but we somehow think that we aren't human. And if we start treating ourselves as not human, think of all the barriers that sets up between ourselves and others, and all the social comparison and kind of feelings of inadequacy, which really don't help anyone. It's actually quite self-focused as well. I hate to say it, but when you're lost in shame, you aren't really thinking about other people very much. You
Yeah, I
know,
guess that is self-focused. I mean, self-centered in a certain way. I mean,
in the sense
that
that,
you're
yeah,
you're
you really
pointing to
focus
that
on, yeah,
that
somehow
that
that
common
I should have been able to get it right. I'm not human. I should have been able to be perfect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
instead,
like a chronic our all of we all have it's like that sort of chronic obsession with our own individuality in some ways. And at least in the United States, I think we've got that to some
well, I
degree.
think it's pretty universal, but ironically, self-compassion lessens the sense of separate self because compassion by its very nature is connected stance. It recognizes interdependence in humanity and the fact that a lot of causes and conditions come together to lead us to act as we do. And so the more you honor compassion, the less you're thinking of yourself as an agent who should be perfect and, needs to be beat up if they don't get it right, or somehow everyone else in the world is living a problem-free life and it's just me who's made a mistake, or it's just me who's struggling, which is a complete fallacy.
Mhm.
So self-compassion reminds us of reality, really. And so different things work for different people. But so one is just, again, like I say, imagining how you would treat a friend. Another very useful one is called the self-compassion break. So self-compassion is actually composed of three elements. It's not just the kindness. There's also mindfulness and a sense of common humanity, right? So the mindfulness is essential. If we don't open to the pain, if we ignore it or we just try to fight it, we aren't going to be able to give ourselves compassion. So we need to be able to turn toward our discomfort instead of immediately trying to make it go away. Turn toward it. Respond with kindness. Oh, that hurts. I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do? That sense of wanting to help. And then also common humanity. Remember, compassion is a connected stance. It's about remembering that everyone struggles. Some people more than others. Yes, absolutely. But there's nothing wrong with me for making a mistake. There's something abnormal about me for having struggle in my life. I'm not alone. Like really, literally, I'm not alone. So the self-compassion break, you just bring these 3 elements in. This is really hard right now. Turning toward it instead of trying to escape it. Difficulty, it's part of life. It's part of being a human. I'm not alone. It's normal. Just reminding yourself. You know it logically, but we forget it. So reminding yourself of that. And then some words of kindness. And also maybe some touch is also a really powerful way to convey kindness. Hand on heart, or maybe your face, or a little hug, or just holding your hand. Physical touch, again, we're also programmed by evolution to respond to touch as a signal of care. So those are some of the ways, very effective, very easy. You don't have to meditate for half an hour. Meditation is good, it really is, but it's not necessary to learn self-compassion.
Catch new episodes of the Mindful Mama podcast and other free resources, including the Mindful Mom Guide at mindfulmamamentor.com. You can listen to every back catalog episode, including interviews with Dr. Dan Siegel, Iyanla Vanzant, Sharon Salzberg, and get meditations, join our private Facebook group, and more. Go to mindfulmamamentor.com now. I'll see you there.